In today's lesson, we'll be learning how to find the equation of a line with slope and a point. If you recall, a linear relation is really just a pattern, and a pattern can be represented with an equation. These two equations mean exactly the same thing. Rate of change is the same thing as slope, and initial value is the same thing as y-intercept. If you recall, slope refers to the steepness of a line, and you can find the slope of a line by drawing a right triangle underneath it and finding the rise and the run. There's another way to find slope, and that involves having 2 points on the line, and you can use the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In this table of values, you're only given 2 pieces of information. You're told that when x is 20, y is 45. You're also given the slope. The rise is positive 2, and the run is positive 1. I want you to use the slope, which is the same thing as the rate of change, to work backwards to find the y-intercept, which is the same thing as the initial value. So when x is 19, y is going to be 43. But are we really going to work backwards all the way to when x is 0? That's going to take a lot of time. There must be a better way. In this graph, you are given the exact same information that you just saw in the table of values. When x is 20, y is 45. The slope is also given. The rise is 2, the run is 1. This is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. I want you to use this point and the slope to work backwards to find the y-intercept. You could do this, but this would take a very long time. There must be a better way, and there is. Let's start by listing out the 2 pieces of important information that were given. We know that when x is 20, y is 45. We also know that the slope was 2 over 1, because the rise was 2, the run was 1, and 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2 divided by 1, which is the same thing as just 2. Next, take a look at the equation y equals mx plus b. I'm going to start replacing some of these variables with your known values. I'm going to replace the variable of y with the number 45. Next, I'm going to replace the variable of m, which represents slope, with the number 2. Afterwards, I'm going to replace the variable of x with the number 20. And the plus b stays exactly the same. This looks a little bit strange. This looks like 220, but between these two numbers is actually a multiplication sign. In my next line of work, I'm going to simplify 2 times 20. The 45 stays the same. 2 times 20 gives you 40, and the plus b stays the same. At this point, you want to look for like terms. You'll notice that 45 and 40 are like terms. Like terms like to be together, which means you can bring the 45 over to be with the 40, or you can bring the 40 over to be with the 45. I'm going to bring the 40 over to be with the 45. Remember, generally speaking, you want to keep variables and numbers on separate sides of the equation. When you bring a term over the equal sign, it becomes the opposite. So this is no longer positive 40, this is now negative 40. The b is going to stay the same. I'm just going to remove the positive sign since you don't really need it. Next, I'm going to simplify 45 subtract 40, and that's going to give you 5. Therefore, 5 is the y-intercept. Therefore, using just a point and the slope, we were able to work backwards with algebra to find the y-intercept. We already know what m is. That is a slope. The slope was 2 over 1, which is the same thing as just 2. And we used algebra to find the y-intercept. And the y-intercept turned out to be 5. Therefore, the equation of this line is y equals 2x plus 5.